So I'm scrolling on Instagram, as I'm wont to do, and I'm tagged in a post about Black book creators you should follow, which then reminds me that, oh, it's February, which means, oh, it's Black History Month, and oh, lots of people have a lot to say about what is right and wrong, what counts and what doesn't, and whether or not white people should have anything to say this month and also just in general. Here's my perspective as someone who wholeheartedly believes that there are very few things in this world that are totally black and white. See what I did there? And that a lot of beauty comes from existing in the messy middle of both and. But before we get into the both and the messy middle and how to coexist and be a good ally and all of that, yada yada yada, there is one take that I think is dead wrong. Interracial stories do not count as black stories. I am in an interracial marriage. I am black and he is white. Sure, if I'm telling a story from his perspective, following his life and his experience, that's not a black story just because I'm married to him. At best, that's tokenism. But if we're talking about my story, from my perspective, then it is a black story and a black romance, because it's silly and offensive to think that a black story only counts when there is no whiteness involved, when there is no influence from white people. We do not live in a world that is unaffected by other people, and I think it can do more harm than good to perpetuate the notion that there is only one way to be black, one way to love black, and one certain type of correct black love story. That my blackness is somehow erased or less than because of my association with a white man. Because baby, when a person looks at me in the world, my butt is black all day, every day, and I am still affected by the same systems that any black person is. So do not tell me that me and my love don't count. Now let's talk about non-black people during Black History Month. Some people think that in Black History Month, white people should sit down and shut up. I disagree to an extent. Now, listen, I think it's important that you understand my perspective here, because right now, in our current society, I want as many people as possible to get on board with the notion that diversity is good, that it's not scary, and that it does not take away from you and yours. And whatever gets someone to that notion, as long as they're not harming other people, amazing. I'm all for it. So if that means that a white person talking about black stories they love can inspire another white person to read more diversely or learn about black history or just care even a smidgen more about diversity, I take that as a step in the right direction. I think what non-black people need to be aware of during Black History Month is centering their own story instead of the story of black people. Because I know you've seen this. A white person on screen, on a social media post, caption, "This book changed my life." And then the entire caption is about them. The book is just kind of there. There's no context, there's no credit. It's just the emotional support token black person. That's not cool. And also not really helpful for anything other than centering the white person in the post. Listen to these two examples and hear how they differ. I read this book with a black protagonist and it reminded me of the time that I ate a sandwich and went to the park and I felt so lovely and free, and it made me remember that despite all of my childhood trauma, I am still a good person with good values. Versus, I read this book with a black protagonist and her journey of doing something as simple as eating a sandwich in a park to having this wonderfully deep revelation about who she is and what she values really moved me and helped me to reflect on my own life. I love the author's prose and attention to detail and using their own life experience to inspire the story. And I will definitely be reading more from this series and more from this author's backlog. The first one is just about the reader. The second is about the story. It still shows the impact on the reader, but the black author and the black story are front and center. I saw this thread the other day because sometimes I get on threads, but only if they suggest it to me on Instagram. That's too many apps for me to keep track of and I can't. Anywho, I saw this thread the other day on Instagram and it said, you have to stop centering yourself in every story in order to create empathy for those in the story. Not every story is written for you, but that does not mean that you won't get something from every story. If we can all just learn to stop centering ourselves so much in everything, I think we'd actually be better off as a society. Now, another way to decenter yourself and be a good ally during Black History Month, or any awareness month or day for that matter, is to share from others as much, if not more, than you share from yourself. And when you share, lead with sharing from Black creators. Now, if you don't follow any Black creators, change that. Like yesterday, but if you haven't already done it yesterday, today is the next best bet. In fact, every month for the rest of the year, I want you to find 5 diverse creators to follow. Different races, ethnicities from different countries, speak different languages, a different sexual orientation, ability level, who read different genres. We cannot exist in a world where we want to build empathy and where we say we can use reading to build empathy if we continue to read only stories by people who look and think like us. And if you're Black or a minority, that goes for you too. I see too many people trying to make diversity a white-only problem. And yes, they have historically been the perpetrators of all the bad things, and they are still the system creators in our society. And I do believe that they have the most work to do. But minority folks and Black people can be just as insular as white people, and we still need to make sure that we are diversifying the things that we read. Are you reading across the diaspora of people with different ability levels? Dare I say, are you reading not just Black stories? I love Black stories, and I think that it's important that we talk about them and amplify them more than they are. I think that goes for disability stories, queer stories, trans stories, Asian stories, South American stories, Hispanic stories. There's so much to diversity, and I don't think that we can amplify and elevate Black stories without also doing it for other people who are not white. I don't think that that's right, and I don't think that that's fair, and I don't think that it helps anyone for any one subsection of our population to be valued more or talked about more. I think we all need to work together to amplify the beauty of diversity and diverse reading. Now, I want to be clear here. When I said that minority folks can be just as insular as white people, that is true. But we don't have the power dynamics necessary to be racist. But we do have the capability to be prejudiced and discriminatory. This is actually a really interesting, philosophical conversation about racism and what qualifies as being racist. And a lot of that can be boiled down to having prejudice and power. Now, I am not going to dive into this particular distinction that much in this video, but I will put some resources in the description for you to read more, because I do think it is important for us to be using the correct shared language and having a shared understanding of what it means to be diverse, what it means to be prejudiced and discriminatory and racist, how all of those things come together to have this argument of what does all of this even have to do with BookTok and the online book community, and how can we be better allies for each other within that community? So let's bring it back to the title of the video, which is BookTok and Black History Month. Let's talk about it. So this is the time where we see a lot of creators making content about Black History Month, sharing books from Black authors or from African countries or with Black main characters. And I get it. Part of being a content creator is being timely. I am making this video about BookTok and Black History Month in February, which is Black History Month. For many, a big part of choosing what you read is based on those timely posts. More people are talking about Black History Month, more people are talking about Black authors, and you read based on what's on your feed the most at any given time. So I get that there's a lot of conversation around it and a lot more people, hopefully, reading Black stories this month. And then you pair that with living in a time where there are expectations about speaking up on social issues and injustices, judgment if you don't, but also judgment if you speak up about it and how you do it, and if it's right or if it's wrong, depending on someone's subjective opinion of those 2 words. I can understand how it could be a little intimidating and feel like you just can't win. Here's what I think is most important, and the first 2 I've already covered, which is uplift Black voices before you uplift your own, and share your perspectives, but don't center yourself. The third is to be thoughtful in curating book recommendation lists. So lead with books you've read and notate if you're putting books on your rec list that are on your TBR. Tell more about a book than just that it features Blackness. I am not just a Black person. I am multi-layered, like an onion. Black people are more than just being Black. So why should this person read it? Is it because it's a well-written epic fantasy, a great historical fiction that had beautiful prose, a romance whose spice was some of the spiciest and best you've ever read? Give us some details. Give us some depth, because Black people have depth. Surprise! We've got depth. And remember, we are not just a checkbox to be ticked off and forgotten, so stop just posting a rec list in Black History Month and actually not reading diverse books the rest of the year. If you're going to be a part of it, be a consistent part of it. Thank you. Now, what can consistency look like? Diversify your media consumption. And that's not just your social media feeds, it's also Netflix, YouTube. If I'm the only Black creator in your subscription box or the only one on your home feed or being recommended to you right now, that's a problem. Fix it. You can also participate in a challenge. This goes to that point of actually reading diversely all year long. There's plenty of challenges on social media, Diverse Baseline, and All the Rage are two that immediately come to mind, but I'll leave some more in the description box for you. Because yes, I am doing labor to help you. Please recognize that, appreciate it, and actually click on some of those links. To wrap this up, I don't think that anyone is doing this perfectly. I know that I am not. And I am not here to judge you about how you do things right or wrong, or what even is the right or wrong way to do things. My philosophy is to do no harm and to better myself and the community around me at the same time. I do think that we can be more thoughtful, more curious, and a little less obsessed with being centered in every story. And I think that will go a long way for making the book community more diverse in Black History Month and in every other month. So what are you doing for Black History Month? What are you reading? Who are you following? How are you engaging? And not just tokenizing. Let's talk about it.